talking to you. My name is Maurer. I spent 13 years at North Middle, now work at Mississippi Bend AEA as a STEM lead. A new job, just working with schools with Makerspace and STEM education with whatever they need. I have a nonprofit called 212 STEAM Lab. It's a STEAM innovation hub for the Quad Cities. So after I this presentation, I have to haul balls back to Bendorf because I've got a group of third graders. We're making musical instruments with Makey, and then we're coding Arduino pumpkins and everything else. So it's pretty awesome. This is not a show up and throw a presentation. So if you're not in the mood to actually do something, then I would kind of ask you just get the hell out of here. We're going to be making and doing. It's a Makerspace session. It always blows my mind how many people come to Makerspace sessions and they look appalled when you actually have to do something. It's not a whole lot. It's just Lego, so it's not like I'm going to ask you to build a robot, but you are going to have to get involved, so I hope that's okay. And so in order for this to happen, I need you to be the mindset of a hacker. What I'm asking for is for the next 49 minutes, take the mindset of a hacker. Just be playful, try things, don't beat yourself up, don't overthink things. Just play, and just do, and just see what happens. And so the goal is just to get you to change your perception, to get you to look at the things that you currently have, the situation that you're in, and just look at it differently and start to ask, what if? That's what I want you to be after. And so, because what happens is we get stressed. The job in education, I'm watching my wife, I think she's an amazing educator. Obviously, I'm biased. She's 17 years in, and I've never seen her more stressed in my life. She comes home every day, shoulders more slumped over, more stressed, more on her plate than I've ever seen, and I don't like that. Because I think she's pretty amazing. And so what happens is we get tunnel vision. We get stressed, our anxiety starts to compound, all these things are on our plate, and we lose sight of the big picture. Like most of you probably didn't realize this guy has 6 fingers on his hand because all you can see is a soccer ball. And so how do we start to change things a little bit to look at the world differently? Whether you see the young girl or the old hag, or, take it if you're hungry. You're hungry, toast looks pretty damn good. But if you're full, toast doesn't look all that exciting to you. Because our reality is a perception, not a reflection of the truth. And so how we see the world is how things are going to be. But the beauty of that is we can change our perception to make it something better. And so we express who we are through what we make. And so I was thinking back when I had nice luscious hair, it looked pretty good, at least I thought I did, in the 7th grade. And I was thinking back from when I went through kindergarten through when I graduated. And I was like, what are all the things that I have to reminisce about, 12 years in education, 13 years? And I have 3 things. I have from kindergarten when I made my mother an ashtray of like a doily stampeded into some clay. And I still have it. It's broken, it's been used and abused, but I still have this. Why? I don't know. In 3rd grade, I wrote a book called The 5 Had a Problem with Girls. Clearly, I had some relationship issues, but I wrote this book. But my teacher wrote a note in there, and because of this little tiny note that says, you're a good writer, even though the book is horrendous, I still think about pushing it online one day. I think it could be a bestseller. I wrote a series about the fox that had a problem. And then in high school, I took an art class, and I made this clay piece of my gap between my teeth. Now, I get it, from kindergarten to the senior, my artistic skills didn't increase a whole hell of a lot. But this is all I have. I have nothing else of my education career. And so what I want you to think about is, are we creating learning artifacts that parents would be ashamed of throwing away if they were caught? How many times, and I know it, my kids come home, they have to empty their backpack because they're required to. I look at the stuff, and they don't really care if I toss it in the trash right in front of them. That's a problem. Now, it doesn't mean that we have to have earth-shattering making things every day. That doesn't work. But I think there's a need and there's an urgent desire for more of it and less of the drill and kill that's being pressured on our plates. Now, I'm not asking you to buck the system. I'm not going to give you some candy-coated dreamland and unicorns and say everything's going to turn around. I get the expectations that are on your plate. But we can nudge in the direction. And that's what we got to start doing. Because I get really pissed off when people tell teachers that you have to improve. Because that insinuates that you're not doing a good job. And I've yet to find a teacher who wakes up and goes, you know what? I'm just going to do a shitty job today. No, we have our bad days and our good days, don't get me wrong. But at our core, we want what's best for kids. And so it's not about improvement. It's about doing things differently. Taking the deck of cards of all the skills and tips and tricks you have and reshuffling it and going, how can I use these things differently? So, what do we mean by learning? And what I want to really get to, and skipping that for the sake of time, is that it's not about the tools. I get asked all the time, what 3D printer should I buy? I got a $1,000 grant, what should I buy? It's not about that. What's your culture? What have you established as a routine? I get the opportunity now to go into a lot of schools and help them develop makerspaces. And it's amazing how many want to show me the 3D printer. I'm like, well, how many kids have been on the 3D printer? Like, well, no, we don't let kids touch it. Well, then why did you spend $3,000 on a 3D printer that kids can't touch? But yes, the first thing you told me to come to. You just admitted that we have a problem here. So that's the beauty of my job is to help change that, make that happen. And so the tools will change. You know, I've got kids 3D coding and using the Microsoft HoloLens and 3D rendered augmented reality environments. But it wasn't that long ago. This was a pretty kick-ass technology. Throw a quarter and I could call my mom. I used to walk around with the pager on it. They had the buzzers. You put like the numeric code message in, like 911. I do that with my mom saying, call me now. The first iPad, I still got a pretty killer playlist on it. This was pretty revolutionary in your old science class. Was waiting for the beep for the next slide. Right? Google Glass was pretty awesome a while back and it failed. And now it's coming back stronger than ever. All right? And so I really like what Mitch Resnick from MIT has with the 4 Ps. If we can focus on projects and get them connected with peers and starting to kind of find their passion. I think passion gets overused, but really helping them find something that they're engaged in and then giving them the opportunity to play. And I'm not going to play this for you, but I had a really good opportunity at ISTE this summer to interview him. And so I linked it in the resources, and I know I didn't give you the resource link. I'll get it to you before you leave. And what he says in that 4 minutes is pretty spot on. And he's actually running a free online boot starting this week, actually tomorrow. And so if you want, it's lifelong kindergarten, it's amazing. It's like my 3rd time doing it, and I learn every time. So if you want to learn from the best of the best, join that. So here's where I'm at, and here's where I want to get you, is we can't do epic shit with basic people. We have to get people moving from a basic level and getting them over here to start to believe. Teachers have got to start to believe in themselves. You have to give yourself the trust and the freedom to do. There's so many people who go, I just don't know where to begin. Just do it. Just do it. So we talk about STEM or STEAM or STREAM, or I've heard streams. I don't care about the acronym. I don't care about the buzzwords. It gets old. It's wasteless energy talking about acronyms. What I want people to stop talking and stop making excuses and just start making and leading by example. And so think about this real quick. I don't know if this audio play. If not, we'll skip it here.
So tell me, why should we hire you?
I have 2 kitty cats. 1, 2, because I got stuff I can do. I like playing in my treehouse. I like ponies and lip gloss. I do a pretty good job. I can't really talk about it. My Bobby's got married to my dad before I was born. Yeah, because my middle name is Lois. Would you like to lip gloss? I asked her to my pearls. I live right here. My computer security. I'm kind of a story at being in love. I don't have anything else. I like chipmunks. What are the hours? I have a time schedule.
Tomorrow's jobs are...
So the question I want to pose on that is, how many of our college graduates have a better answer? Their system allowing them to have better answers than that. And so I'm not going to bombard you with facts, but things are moving in STEM. You hear about it all the time, and there's a lot of stuff you can find. But the idea is that it's happening. But I believe that kids can't be what they don't see. When you ask kids what they want to be when they grow up, they usually tell you a professional football player, a baseball player, a musician, or a YouTuber. Why? Because it's what they see all the time. Now, we can complain about society. We can complain that we got to do a better job of exposing, but how can we do that as educators, as people engineering these maker spaces and this culture in our building to bring these things to life? We tell people all the time, it's one of the top 3 statements in education. We got to prepare them for the future that doesn't exist yet, jobs that haven't been created. Well, what does that mean to a 7-year-old? It means nothing. My 6-year-old can't figure out more than where is the candy after school. That's all she cares about. She doesn't care about that. So we have to start to embed these things and let the kids realize that these jobs are real. They exist, and some of them make pretty good money, and they don't all require a 4-year degree. So we have to get them to that mindset. And so it comes back to that perception. And so I'm doing a lot of talking. We're going to move into some action here, because I believe that learning is about stuff that sticks. You've been talked to for 2 straight days. And I know it's like a Charlie Brown, blah, 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 blah. You've had enough, your brain's on overload. But we have to connect the learning to emotion and experiences. And how do we make that happen? So we're going to try right now. So go ahead and get your Lego bag and open that bad boy up.
You have any more?
I do. Anybody else in the back? What's that you? Oh, sorry.
Thank you.
Yep. Sorry. All right. Need one more? Two more? We good? Okay, so here we go. I know you don't have to organize. Everybody's a little bit different. Just get your pieces so you know where they are. Here's actually what I want you to find. I want you to find the yellow and the red ones right now for me. Just the yellow and the red. The other ones you can put in the pile off to the side. I actually, the room I was in last session, this is where I should have been in for this one. Now you can see the next extra table. All right. So you should have 6 pieces, 4 yellow, 2 red. Here's what I have you do. It's going to be quick, but don't panic. Okay, there's no wrong answer. Your hands know a lot more than you think. We talk about hands-on learning because it works. It's been around forever for a reason. All right, so this one I call what the duck. It's pretty simple. One, there's no ducking around. So I'm going to give you a question or something to build. I'm just going to ask that you build. You share it. And if you don't know what to do, just start smashing pieces together. It's Lego. That's how it works. So here's your first challenge. You've got 1 minute. Actually, I'm going to give you 30 seconds. You get to build a duck. Go. Give me about 15 more seconds. You're done. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. All right. So we got to do, I always do a little duck picture. So everyone hold their duck up. This allows me to continue to bring Lego pieces. So we got a lot of ducks in the crowd. We're going to do a panoramic. Okay, perfect. So, if we had more time, we'd explore all these ducks, we'd lay them out, and you're going to see, if you just look around the people around you, there are a ton of different duck designs. And so if you want to just take 15, 20 seconds and just kind of turn around and look at how people make ducks. It's pretty intriguing. So think about the power of imagination. There's a ton of ways to make a duck. So think about that in that 30 seconds with 6 simple bricks. There was 24 skills used. You may not have used all 24 yourself, but probably collectively through the room, we did all these things somewhere. And so the point of this activity is just to say you don't need a lot of high-end expensive stuff to make these things work. Very simple method. We can get a lot of learning, a lot of skill acquisition through very simple means. And so think about these things. In 30 seconds, these are some of the things that you had to figure out. One, you had to remember what a duck looked like. And then you had to kind of figure out the inventory of material. So what do I actually have to kind of get this image to reality? How do I put them together? Some of you may have modified and changed materials. And then you maybe kind of started to scan around the room like, oh, my duck doesn't look like hers. I need to change this real quick. And then it's kind of like, oh, I'm not very good duck maker. You know, like, yeah, I'm fine. Like, all these things that are happening. And think about that happening in 30 seconds. We don't need a 2-week lesson to engage these skills and get the kids thinking and playing and exploring. But here's the thing. You had to do something. And how many times do we choose to do nothing? Even as leaders, we choose to do nothing. All right? And this transfer, so think about the same application. You get a memo. Maybe I should have put email. I don't know if we get memos anymore. But an email, like from your principal or admin. And how many times, like during break or on a prep period or lunch, and there are like 47 different interpretations of that email. I think he's angry. I think he's excited. He doesn't understand me. He just, whatever it might be. The same thing happens. We have to be able to understand the diversity of thought that goes into it. And if we can break all these ducks down, we can really dive into that. And so just real quick, think about this and just kind of turn to a person like 15 seconds. You're not going to need a whole lot of time. You don't have to answer all 4. But like, how did you work? What would you do differently? Or how could you document this process? Or how could you use something similar like this in your classroom? I'll let you pick your poison and just kind of turn real quick and just talk to someone around you about one of those things. What's some idea that popped in your head? thought. If we had like a 2-hour model, I'd give you more time. So we're going to keep moving on. We got like 120 more slides. So here's some deep thoughts. Here's what I think is important, especially with adults. And so if you're trying to change the culture of your school, you're trying to get some more teachers to embrace this culture and mindset, or your colleagues insist, that people themselves often don't even know what they know. There's so much that you did in 30 seconds that you didn't give yourself enough credit for until we explicitly made that clear. So a lot of times we always say we don't know what we don't know, but we also don't know how much we actually do know. And the same thing with kids. Kids have a lot of lacking of self-confidence in their abilities. And so how do we help bring those out? And so here's another little quick challenge. Just one more, since we have them out. You're going to need that 2x2 orange piece. You can use all the pieces in this one. You don't have to use them all. And here's what you're going to do. I'll give you 30 seconds. I think the slide's going to say a minute. But I want to see who can build the largest structure with the 2x2 brick at the bottom. It's got to balance on its own, so you can't like squeeze and hold it, cheat the system. I know you have the best platform to share the little slide. So I'll give you 30 seconds to see who can build the largest structure.
With the duck pieces?
You can use the duck pieces as well, yes. If you're willing to break your duck apart. Some people don't like to give up on the duck. So.
Nothing will be below the orange.
Everything's got to balance on the orange. Yep, the orange is the bottom piece. Nope, just the largest. About 20 more seconds. Maybe. I know, we're going fast and furious. I can feel the anxiety and the perfectionist in the crowd. Just need more time. All right, 5 more seconds. All right. So, we'll go ahead and 3D keep building to us. It's not a competition. A couple interesting things that I developed in this one. And then I said who could build the largest, and I talked about this in previous things before. The word competition freezes some people's mental capacity up. Some of you are like, I can't build a large one. And your just brain shuts down. So I think it's important that when we're looking at our makerspaces or the culture of what we're doing with us in the classroom or a makerspace, not everything has to be competitive. We go to that a lot for that short-term gain to get kids excited. But it's amazing for every kid that gets jacked by competition, because some of you are like, oh, hell yeah, I'm going to get the tallest one. I'm making this happen. Another person broke down. And now we've got to be careful when we insert competition into our mood. The other thing was I slipped and I said tallest. I didn't mean to. I wanted to really emphasize largest. Some of you could have went this way, some went straight up, some put pieces on the side, some flipped them upside down. You know, I think we had the orange piece upside down, and he built up that way. There's no rhyme or reason. But I slipped, and so I slipped that up. And so it's open to interpretation for a reason. But it's interesting, that's not good, how many people needed some guidance and instruction. Like they needed just a little bit more. The openness was a lot. It was almost too much there. There we go. So, we're going to skip this one. So the current reality is this. You have an 8-hour workday, and the expectation is that you try to get in about 15 hours of work in a given day. There's a lot of pressure. There's a lot of things, a lot of data. There's a lot of individual creative development plan. There's all sorts of things happening. And we have to be able to find a way to still make these things happen. And so what I'm asking you is to once again look at how can we use little nuances, little things like Lego. It doesn't even have to be Lego. Simple things you have sitting around your classroom that you haven't used in years. Like, I'm going to get to that one day. How could you get that out and repurpose things that are sitting around? And so the story that I always share is this. I was on a phone call with Lego Education many years ago when they were getting ready to release the EV3 Mindstorm. And I share this story because it's like the driving base of everything that I've done since then. And I remember there, a person on the call, we were beta testing the product, and someone asked, well, why are we doing a new robot? Everybody's finally using the NXT, the old Lego fans. And the guy said, our goal is to eliminate ask-to-seat teaching. And that's always stuck with me. And I always think back to my kids. My daughter was in 3rd grade, and my son was in 5th. And in their school, they always have to write down one thing they learned every day. And so my daughter was a rock star. She always had things that she learned every day. But my son wrote this down. As a parent, this pissed me off. As an educator, it pissed me off. Like, how can a kid spend 8 hours in a school and not write down one thing? Now, I'm not blaming the teacher at all. This is a two-way street. And the thing I told my son is, then, if you didn't learn anything, then that's on you. What did you do to engage yourself? But it is a two-way street. What are we doing where he should have at least felt the need to write something? And this is what can't happen. So how do we make that? My kids are good, normal kids. I don't have a sob story. There's nothing goofy about them. We're going to be just fine. He just didn't learn anything that day. But I think it paints a much broader picture how many kids feel that way. And so, because kids are curious. Duh, you know that. If you work with kids, you know their curiosity. They might always show it in school, but then there's the bell ring at the end of the day, listen to those conversations, there's a lot of curious things going on being discussed. So we know they're curious. And so I wrote down a conversation my daughter had with me in January. And if you have young kids, try this sometime. When one of your young kids gets on a question rampage, write them all down. It's a great blackmail when you get older. And so she asked this one day. Did you know we have a bulldog named Frankie? Did you know Frankie cannot see the color of her skin? She'll never know what her skin looks like. Because Frankie's too fat. She can't turn her head to see. You know, and then she asked, why do we have two eyes and not one? Then she asked, well, if you stick up my middle toe, that's the same as my middle finger. That's a really good question. And then she's like, how did mom make me? And I was like, we're done. We're done with this conversation. And so the question I have in schools is, why do we shoot down their questions? Do we even have the space in our day to allow them to ask questions? Or have we convinced ourselves so much that we don't have enough time for that? That we have to get through whatever it is that's on your plate? And is there a way that we can re-spin these things that we think are mandates, and oftentimes I know they are, and use it in a different way? And so, can we stop making kids bend to teachers? What if we start to bend to the needs of kids instead? Now, I'm not saying that you have to meet every single kid's needs. That's impossible. It's not going to happen. But how do we start to bend and change the ebb and flow of our classroom structure to make this happen? All right? So think about all the latest fads that drive us nuts, like fidget spinners and bottle flipping. And this is the question I always ask. Why do schools look to ban all the things that kids enjoy learning about? How quickly were we to ban fidget spinners because they were annoying? And I know they were annoying. But what if we could switch that and do something different with it? Because I think our focus has been on short-term gain. My 6-year-old can't read. She's in first grade. She's got interventions up to wazoo, and she already knows that she is not good at school. She tells me every day. It started in kindergarten, and she had to go to summer school. And she hates school. Now, she loves the dish. We're actually a really good teacher. But last year, she hated school. And she'd cut her clothes. And she'd ask Bill about it. She'd hide. She'd do everything to not get there. That's a problem. She's 5. She should be jacked every single day. But I think what happens is we're so focused on the short-term gain, moving her a data point right now, that we're losing sight of the long-term development. Being that, yeah, maybe she's moving up on the data sheet, but she's learning to hate reading. That's a much bigger consequence. She'll be fine. I don't care if she learns to read until 5th grade. But if she starts to hate learning, now we're screwed. Now I can't get her out of my house. I can get her out of my house if she reads at a 5th grade level. I'll find something for her. But if she hates learning, we've got problems. So, and I like to think of this. She was doing this build the other day, and she was hot gluing these popsicle sticks to this cup to see how her tallest tower would be. Now, as an adult, you realize this is a terrible design. Like, it's just not realistically going to work. You can't glue to a side of a plastic cup. It eventually falls over, and she just said, hey, I made an umbrella. She was so quick to transition. And so how do we do that as adults? I think we've lost sight of that. And so ask yourself these questions. Why would I be successful in this class that I've never been successful before? Working at middle school, this is huge. We've got kids that were coming in with 6 years of experience not feeling very good about themselves. And from Teach Like a Pirate, it's still one of my favorite questions. The students had a choice to go to your classroom, did you have an empty room? All right, if you're an administrator here, your school. So, in 2013-14, this was the space I was given as an instructional coach. And I said, I was given with the task to create a makerspace or a project-based learning room. And I was given 2 fold-out tables and a set of chairs. I said, figure it out. And so my goal was to prevent this. That when kids stepped foot in that room, they were going to be sure that they were not going to learn nothing. I think that's double. I don't think that quite works, but you get my point. So we had to think outside the box. And so here's the things that we started doing. We started building robots. We started getting them to solder and make things, these robots with sensors. And we started using cardboard and DC motors from VCRs and using popsicle or pop caps for the lids and drag racing. And then the bristle box have been around. And we got them soldered, we got them making their own learning. And the robotic pumpkin, which I'm going back to go do tonight, and teaching them coding. We're making trebuchets and catapults. And we made our arcade console with Raspberry Pi and Scratch. And then we got them going, we got the first Lego League that people are doing. And we started getting sharing our learning. We started beta testing for companies. And then the kids knew I loved coffee. And so the problem was this. We were doing all these great things, but teachers weren't impressed. I couldn't get them into the space. So I brought a coffee machine in, and we stashed it in the farthest point of the room. So they actually had to walk all the way through the room to get to the coffee. And in the process, they got to start, as they were waiting for the cup to brew, they're like, what's going on over there? And then what's going on here? And kids started to want to tell them, because we were always working on it through our core classes. Kids were in them all the time. And they just started creating these spaces. We started doing teacher tinker time on Fridays, where teachers were brain dead by Fridays, so we brought them in and we just played. And I had an activity every Friday for them to come in and just start building and making. They had to start to see what we were doing before I could get them to start to think about changing the teaching practice. And it started to work. Those big trebuchets led to a 6th grade engineering challenge. We just downsized it and used Tic Tac lids and rubber bands and popsicle sticks. And we started 3D design printing body parts, and DNA, a perfectly healthy body part versus one that had a malfunction in the DNA sequence. We started building the tiny homes and language arts. We did Saran Wrap body wrap, and this is a Holocaust, a gas chamber, so the parents would walk through that window on the outside, and we coded and triggered in LED lights into the ping pong balls that would represent Zyklon B, and we had like a fog machine, and it was eerie how silent it was when people walked by. We brought teachers in, and we empowered them to break out EDU and other design challenges. And when we didn't know the answers, we brought experts in. We 3D printed an umbrella stand. We used IFTTT, so when the app said it was going to rain, you took your umbrella with you. And we started to go. This was iTech 3-4 years ago. We got a chance to go around the world, but parents didn't understand. So we brought parents in. And this day, we went through, had 700 families come in and learn. We just had them build to experience it. And we had kids going out sharing and doing it, and then running into the summer programs. This is National History Day, so the tiny homes that you saw earlier, we broke them down, we repurposed the wood, the girl stretched canvas, she painted, we taught her how to solder and program LED lights. We have a 5-foot robot named Twitch. Then that went from there, and they started making a YouTube channel. And they started making their own videos. I didn't create that, they did. And they got asked to start presenting. And then it spread to my wife's school, and she's an algebra teacher. And what in the world do you do with algebra? Can you make anything in algebra? And so we used a Desmos app, used equations, and made art and come out with vinyl. And then it goes to your house, things start to spread. So we've got more slime in our house, it's disgusting, it's everywhere. And then it moved into music. And the kids went, we took Crazy Train by Ozzy Osbourne, the band learned how to play it. We put Christmas lights in all the holes in the pegboard, created a train, and synced it up like a Christmas light show. And so when the band played, the train lit up behind it. And then that converts over to our robot. And then student council got involved. They started making their own decals and doing their own fundraising. And then the fidget spinners we talked about, we could complain about it, or we could bring these kids in and teach them CAD, and engineering design, and weight balance, and weight distribution. Then it leads into big projects. It's science and history, and language arts. It's the history of the United States. It goes from top down. It's a marble run. And so take like the Boston Tea Party. And the science is the kinetic and potential energy along the way. And as it goes through, these are the moments in history. So take like before they throw the tea into the water, a lot of potential energy, tea goes in the water, there's your kinetic, and we started to bridge all the practices together. And then the same thing in language arts again, we did an aqueduct system, built 26 aqueducts, one being a 50-foot one that went from the language arts teacher's room through her ceiling, ran down, and then dropped down into my coffee pot when we needed water. But it started back with 2 fold-up tables. And this is where I want to get back to. It started with fold-up tables and just in our homeroom, making a Lego city. Homeroom, once a day, came in for 15 minutes, and they just built it. And the rules were, add anything you want, don't break anything else that's there. And then we started to figure out how can we get into language arts. As opposed to writing a rough draft, kids had to make a rough draft. As opposed to trying to figure out how to buy a shake table, we made a shake table for earthquakes. And so why do I share all this with you today? Because it took off. And it's this right here, that formal learning doesn't make sense without informal learning. We've got to give them the opportunities to make and explore. It's just as important as the content that we're trying to get to them as well. You got to have both. I'm not telling you got to have the maker party every day. That'll fail quick. But it can't be drill and kill either. You got to find ways to infuse it. The other thing that's important and why it works and why I share this with you, it's not about do it yourself. This had nothing to do with me. I just supplied the coffee and wrote grants. It was about the teachers that were willing to take a risk. It was about the students that came in and made it happen. So it's not about doing it yourself, it's about doing it together. So we're going to practice this really quick. So you're going to get with the partner. Don't worry, you can get your pieces back. All right? Pick out 10 pieces real quick. All right, here's what we're going to do. Okay, so I'm going to explain this, but please don't cheat. I know how adults' brains work. You got 10 pieces. You're not going to be able, when we start, you're not going to be able to talk or help or tell them in any sort of way where to place their bricks. So no communication back and forth with your partner. Okay? You're going to add one brick at a time. So I add a brick, and then she adds a brick, and you go back and forth. But you can't communicate. All right? And you're going to have to build a dinosaur. I'm going to give you 1 minute. So you guys kind of work somewhat fast. I'll give you 1 in 30 seconds. Go. No talk. We're nudge nudgers. About 45 seconds. Wait a second. Ten seconds. All right, go ahead and add your final piece. We have any proud dinosaur makers anywhere? Yeah. Hey, look at that! That's awesome! There's a good one right there! Oh, sweet! Yeah! Be proud of dinosaurs! Or dragons, or whatever. Awesome. So if we had more time, what we would do, we'd do it again, but we'd allow you to communicate. And so you can do this activity with any sort of material, but I think it's a really good one, especially when we talk about teamwork with kids and how do you collaborate. A lot of times we say, collaborate, do group work. We don't ever explicitly teach them actually what that means. And so this is just a great little way to do that. It's also a good little activity to do for PD, if you ever have anything in PD, to talk about collaboration and communication and things like that. So, the other reason that we have is to avoid obstacles. So the reason I shared all those ideas with you is because obstacles are what we see when we take our eyes off the goal. So it goes all the way back to the beginning where it's not about the tool. What is it that you're trying to achieve? What is it you're trying to create? And that's what you have to keep your focus on. And so if you're looking for activities or what you need in your culture, it comes back to that goal. If it doesn't fit the goal, then don't worry about it. Learn to say no. And so as we kind of bring this stuff to a close here, something that I think is really important. You're going to have one more build by yourself. So if you don't want to put it all the way away, I'll give you a heads up and take it out again. This is important. I think it's a quote that I use quite a bit. It's that everyone thinks of changing the world, but no one thinks of changing themselves. So it's easy to point fingers and look at other people. Well, my administrator isn't like this. Superintendent, won't go for this. My team, man, we just waiting for her to retire. What are we doing for ourselves? We can spend all our time pointing fingers and then trying to justify that the reason we're not making changes because of people around us. And at what point do you take the bull by the horns and just start to do some of these things and make it happen? And my favorite quote of all time is by Maurer. Our students' dreams are bigger than the standards we have to cover. We cannot lose sight of that. I know we've got standards, I know we got data and CFAs and all this stuff, but our kids have dreams. They have a vision of what they want to do with themselves, and if not, we have to help them start to figure that out. We can't lose sight of that. So it requires us to do the work. And as leaders, how do we help carry the burden? Teachers can't do it by themselves. They need support, they need empowerment. You just can't say, do this. What are we doing to help make that happen? And so it does require that teamwork, but it starts small. You can do this in preschool. One brick at a time. In the nonprofit, we're doing this right now with preschool kids, and I hope that it gets used in all the preschools in the area. And we just start to scale it, and we let kids start to come together and work. And things that don't look that impressive like this can really be pretty monumental. Then we're looking at, there's a wired LED grid in here, and it explains how GPS signals work and how they're different from Bluetooth. We built a cow track monitor for the ghost students in the village in Nepal who can't go to school because they have to watch cows all day and cattle. And so we built an Arduino device. Surprisingly, they're ungodly poor, but cell phones are cheap. And like unlimited data plan, we're talking like $1 for an entire year. It's not like here in America. And so we created a device that the kids could go to school. At the end of the day, it would ping the GPS coordinate to the phone of the kid, and they would track the cow. They could go get the cow, and then walk the cow home so they actually go to school. And so this was our device explaining how that works. You know, I never would have thought they would have their own YouTube channel and social media stuff. And things just start to go through. This guy built this complicated wing thing that goes on your roof with Lego, and this kid he was winning so much scholarship money in 8th and 9th grade. And who knows the unintended consequences. We had a fish tank into space, and over a break, the kids were like, well, what are we going to do with that? How are we going to feed the fish? I was like, I'm not coming in. So they built an automatic fish feeder. Fed the fish every day. And this one here is probably like my proudest story of all. So kids were coming into the space like at 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning. But I wasn't there because I had to get my own children to school and dropped off to daycare. And so they were tired of waiting. And they would come and they would stay like 8 or 9 o'clock at night as well. And so they were tired of waiting to get into the space. And so they built this Lego contraption. I still don't know how it works to this day. But they would turn it on and like the matrix sequence would pop up on the screen. They would turn this knob here to the numbers, and they changed the password every week. And they would hit the button here to type in the 4 numbers, and there was a motor on the other side of the door to unlock the door so they could get in. It's crazy, because they wanted to be there. The space was established. And it didn't have anything to do with me. And you have some success that comes from that. In that empty room, this is what it looked like before I left. Jumped to the AEA. It naturally started to take place. You can see the coffee machine stashed all the way in the corner. All right, this wall here was free for any classroom or kid to take whatever they wanted, whenever they wanted. Over here, I didn't take a very good picture of it because it was atrocious. It was called the crap corner. This is where we threw everything, and anybody could take that whenever. And then the rest of the room just changed depending on the needs. And so I want to leave you with a couple thoughts. This is my biggest thing. One of the key ideas I hope you take. If makerspaces are so powerful, then why are they in isolation? Think about this. And not anybody see the problem in this? That we are creating a space in a school to not feel like school. That is a problem. Like, so how do we take this and move it out? The definition of a makerspace should be the definition of a classroom. And the fact that we've separated this, because I believe it's just a cop-out of doing the wrong things right instead of doing the right things wrong. We continue to do these things that we know aren't working, yet we keep doing it. So we have to get away from the buzzword. We have to get away from this stuff and start to stand out and do things differently. And the scale of education is this, as Seymour Papert says. Every time we teach something, we deprive the child of the pleasure, benefit, of discovery. As opposed to front-loading everything, what if we just gave the stuff out and let them explore for a little bit? And I bet you'd be amazed at how many times they would probably lead right to the intended goal that you wanted in the first place. But they feel like they're in charge and in control. And I think it's simple. As my daughter wrote several years ago, I love this, as I was president, the first thing I do is wake up. I don't think it's that hard. And I think it just comes down to this. We've cluttered education with so much complicated terms and acronyms. Whatever happened is plain old good teaching. We got into it for a reason. You have a skill. You're in this job for a reason. Use it. I think we've kind of been browbeaten to lose sight of how good we can be as educators. And it's time that we start to do that. And so we've got one final build here, and then I will set you free on your merry way. So this one is called All Ducked Up. Here's what I want you to do. You have 1 minute to build anything but a duck. Which is kind of like that reverse psychology thing we were talking about in the keynote. 1 minute, anything but a duck. I don't care what you use. Thirty more seconds. Ten more seconds. All right, let's get the final piece on. Here's what I had to do. One more time, the parents go apart. I'm going to give you 30 seconds for each of you to talk. You're going to tell a convincing story that what you built is actually what you claim it is. Whatever it is you built, you got to convince them that that's actually what it is. So, partner one, whoever you want to figure out who that is, you got 30 seconds to convince your partner, and then you'll switch at the 30-second mark. Go.
This is an old satellite dish that we used to sit on top of the antenna and set on top of for dishes.
Like just these big daddies and they're going
You have a switch, go ahead and switch.
It was quick because I wanted to sit there trying to figure out when you get this side straight, but then you still get it started as a pyramid and then like, but then it takes longer, so it's gonna make a difference. I know, I agree.
All right. So, we kind of indirectly here, as we wrap this up, we've talked about these things. These are just a few of the things I think are really important to the pulpit of the Makerspace. We didn't explicitly tackle these, but indirectly we have. Building curiosity. How do we build curiosity into our classrooms, into our Makerspace? Do we build it? How do we build it in time? Just in time to be playful. It doesn't take a whole lot of time. You guys did a series of builds in 30 seconds to 1 minute. Just to play. Just it doesn't have to be these super complicated, massive undertakings. How do we start to develop the mindset to be a risk taker and just try something, to change our perspective, and to be persistent, to keep going through and you can't quite figure out what it is of how you want to get to that end goal. And the last thing is that sharing our ideas and celebrating it, and not passing judgment on those things. And so, what I want to challenge you is, you just told the story of that build. What's your story going to be? When you leave here today, and you enter back into your schools tomorrow with the 10,000 emails and probably parent-recorded messages and some meeting you didn't get caught up on, what's your story going to be? You don't have to write it on paper, I didn't have the paper out. But in your head, what's that story going to be? What is it that you're going to go do tomorrow to start to make that change? That is the challenge that I have to. I hope you don't just listen and then go back and keep doing the same thing over and over. And so, I want you to make something different. And I want you to make something innovative. And in the words of John Green, I want you to make something awesome sauce. Because I think that's really important. We have to model the way of what this means. So I thank you for your time. But just a couple things before you sneak out of here. Because some of you might be thinking like, okay, it's all great, but where's the practicality? Where do I go to get started? What are these ideas? Because I get it. There's a lot of people talk, and I'm one of those people. They can give you a lot of ideas, but it's like, great, it's exciting, but I still have A, B, C, D, E, F, G, F, I, J, K, L, and D to deal with. So I want to highlight a couple things. In 15 minutes, we couldn't go through it all. One, this self-promotion, I don't mean in a bad way, but as an AA person, I do have a 2-day maker build. Make yourself into a maker. You're going to walk away with 3 different builds to take back to your schools. You keep everything, and you get to actually use it. So it's not like turn to your partner and read an article. Let's jigsaw read. It's like, here's 3 hours, and we're going to make this. Everyone's making stuff from preschool to high school. We got to get it done. Boom, it's yours. Take it, use it. The other thing is, on this resource guide, it's on Coffee for the Brain. I've got tabbed up top. It's all over it, but this is a link to this slide deck. More importantly, there's a 40-page PDF I've created. It's like a mini ebook. And there are every single project we've ever done when I was at Bendorf Middle School is there. There's links, there's resources, there's documents, there's guides. If there's something not there that you want, email me. I probably have it sorted somewhere, just not out there yet. And so a big update is coming to that, but there's 40 pages. Things to buy, activities to go, resources to check out. It's all there. So we didn't have time in it, but I also understand how important it is. I don't just want to be a talking head and be like, yay, rah, rah, the troops, and then it's just not practical. So they're there. And wherever you're from, if you get stuck and need help, email me. I have no problem helping you. It's what I love to do. This is my passion. It's what I live and breathe. It's why I'm hauling balls back to Bendorf to go teach classes to 9 o'clock tonight, to get up and go do this all over again. So email me. If something didn't make sense, or you have a better idea, anything, reach out. And with that, I hope you have safe travels back to where you are. I hope you had a great conference. Thank you for sticking around to the last day, and thanks for shooting this session. I hope it was worthwhile. Thank you so much.